Photoshop and Illustrator both allow you to create artwork, but the way in which they do so varies tremendously. Photoshop is known as a pixel editing application, where you're drawing and moving and manipulating tiny boxes called pixels, also known as rasters. I'm going to grab my zoom tool on this image and zoom in on the doorknob. I won't go all the way just yet, but you can already see the artifact starting to appear. I'm going to zoom in even further, and now you see what this is actually made of. This image is comprised of tiny little boxes here called pixels. The problem with pixels is that they cannot be scaled indefinitely without deteriorating the image. So if I were to zoom in on a human eye, for example, after a while you wouldn't be able to tell that it was a human eye. You would just see a whole bunch of boxes. Now, Illustrator, on the other hand, which I already have open, works with what are known as vectors or lines. So if I were to take the pen tool and create artwork, I could scale in to this line forever and it would always be crisp. Let me go ahead and show you. I'll scale a little bit like so, and you see that the line is crisp. I'll zoom in even further and I'll keep going. Look at that. That line, that edge is crisp all the way. That's because the images that you create inside of Illustrator are resolution independent. They don't really care how far you go. You can zoom in forever. The reason being is because the lines that you create in Illustrator are mathematically calculated. Illustrator is keeping track of where each one of these little dots called a point is. So we have this point and we have this point, and it knows to draw it based on the tangency and the handles and all that kinds of mumbo jumbo science talk. So I'm going to jump back over to Photoshop and zoom out again, and just hold down my Alt key to zoom out, or Option. And once again, just to reiterate, the difference is Photoshop is a pixel-based application which deals with these little boxes, which allows you to move them around with the smudge tool, for example. So I can move things like this, and it then averages out those pixels and their locations and all that kinds of stuff. And Illustrator bases its artwork on the lines known as paths that you draw with the pen tool or the other vector-based tools.